Okay, let's get right into it. What if some of the things you do every day, your habits, your thought patterns, even your little quirks, are actually secret signs of high intelligence? We're not talking about your GPA or some test score here. We're talking about real psychological patterns that science shows are linked to a seriously smart mind.
So let's just ask it outright. When you think of someone who's smart, what comes to mind? Is it all about getting straight A's and acing tests? For a long time, that's what we've all been told. But the actual psychology of intelligence? Well, that tells a much more interesting story.
You can really break it down into two different views. On one hand, you've got the traditional stuff. The grades, the test scores, the things you can put on a resume. But on the other hand, you've got the psychological view. This looks at your internal wiring, the habits, the thoughts, and yeah, even the quirks that really define a sharp mind. And that's exactly where we're going to spend our time today.
So first, we're going to start by looking inward. We're talking about that voice inside your head, your internal dialogue, and the thought processes that are often the very first clue to a highly intelligent brain.
First up is something that a lot of us probably get told is a bad thing: overthinking. You know that feeling when your brain just won't shut off? What if that constant analysis isn't just anxiety? What if it's actually something incredibly productive? Well, psychologists have a pretty cool term for this. It's called cognitive reflection. And all it really means is the ability to stop, to question your gut reaction, and to dig for a deeper answer. So it's not just worrying for the sake of worrying. It's a powerful tool for solving really complex problems.
And honestly, this phrase just nails it. An intelligent mind doesn't just have a knee-jerk reaction. It pauses, it reflects, it considers the angles, it weighs the possibilities, and then it acts. That little pause makes all the difference.
Okay, sign number 2, you are just intensely curious. Are you that person who is constantly asking why, who falls down internet rabbit holes for hours just to learn about something random? This isn't a short attention span, it's a genuine hunger for knowledge.
This is tied directly to a major personality trait called openness to experience. And get this, research from the University of London actually found a direct, measurable link between having this trait and having a higher IQ. So that curiosity of yours, it's literally your intellect pushing you to learn more.
All right, now for one that might sound completely backwards, but stick with me on this: self-doubt. It sounds strange, right? But realizing what you don't know is actually a profound sign of intelligence.
This all comes down to something called intellectual humility. The smartest people are often painfully aware of the gaps in their own knowledge, and that's what drives them to keep learning. It's the total opposite of the famous Dunning-Kruger effect, where people with less skill tend to be way overconfident and have no idea what they don't know. Okay, so we've explored the internal world of thoughts and feelings. Now let's shift our focus to the outside world and how an intelligent mind observes and processes things that most people miss entirely. Have you ever been the quiet one in a group? Not because you're shy or you have nothing to say, but because you're just busy. You're busy listening, watching, and taking it all in. This isn't being passive, it's a deliberate act of gathering information. Psychologists call this active observation. It's not just about hearing the words people say. It's about processing all the subtle data that flies under the radar for most people. The tone of voice, the body language, the emotional current in the room, the flaws in an argument. It's a skill that pulls from both your logical and your emotional intelligence. So really, while everyone else is focused on talking, the active observer is busy processing. They're seeing the connections and building a much more complete picture of what's really going on. It's a quiet superpower, for sure. All right, let's talk about our final trait. This is a habit that gets so misunderstood in our hypersocial world: the need to be alone. For a highly intelligent person, solitude isn't about loneliness. It's a necessity. If you feel a genuine sense of peace and satisfaction from spending time by yourself, whether you're reading or thinking or just working on a project, you might have felt like the odd one out sometimes. But there is a very clear psychological reason why you feel this way. We can call it an intellectual recharge. There was this fascinating study in the British Journal of Psychology that found that smarter people often report being less satisfied with frequent socializing. And why is that? It's because their brains are wired to crave space for deep, uninterrupted thought. So, you know how most people go to a party to feel energized? For an intelligent mind, that recharge comes from solitude. It's where the real work of connecting ideas happens, far away from the distractions of small talk.
Okay, so we've looked at all these different pieces: the overthinking, the curiosity, the quiet observation, the need for solitude.
Let's pull all those threads together now and look at the bigger picture of how a smart brain is actually wired.
So let's do a quick recap of these core psychological patterns. You practice cognitive reflection instead of just reacting. Your endless curiosity is driven by a high openness to experience. You use active observation to see what everyone else misses. You have intellectual humility, which keeps you learning. And you use solitude for that crucial intellectual recharge. These are the powerful building blocks of a truly intelligent mind.
So if any of this sounded familiar, if you've ever felt a little weird for thinking too much or for genuinely loving your own company, here is the single most important takeaway. You're not weird. You are simply wired for deeper thinking. These aren't flaws to be fixed, they are features of your mind.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. Now that you can recognize these patterns, maybe in other people, or maybe even in yourself, the real question is, what do you do with that knowledge? How will you lean into those strengths and cultivate them to make your own mind even sharper? Because understanding how you're wired is really just the beginning of the journey.